You don't deserve it anyway. My stepmother's voice crackled through the phone, dripping with satisfaction. That dusty old box was taking up space in my new display cabinet. Besides, your mother's things don't belong in my house anymore. I gripped my desk at the downtown law firm where I worked, trying to keep my voice steady. The box she was talking about contained the last gift my mother had left me before cancer took her 5 years ago. I'd been saving it for my 30th birthday, just as she'd instructed. When did you throw it away, Amanda? I asked, fighting to maintain my composure. This morning. The garbage truck already came, so don't bother looking for it. She paused, probably expecting me to break down. Your father agrees it's time you stopped clinging to the past. My name is Catherine Morris, and at 29, I was listening to my stepmother gleefully describe how she disposed of my last connection to my mother. What Amanda didn't know, what no one knew, was that I'd anticipated something like this happening. Well, thank you for letting me know, I replied calmly. My composed response clearly threw her off. That's all you have to say. What else is there to say? The deed is done. I checked my watch. I need to get back to work now. As I hung up, I could almost see Amanda's frustrated expression. She'd been trying to erase my mother's presence from our family home ever since she married my father 2 years ago. The box had been her latest target. What she didn't know was that the box she'd thrown away was a decoy. 3 months ago, I'd noticed how Amanda's eyes would linger on the worn wooden box whenever she passed it. I'd seen her running her fingers along its edges when she thought no one was watching. So I created an identical box, aged it to look like the original, and filled it with old papers and costume jewelry. The real box, along with its precious contents, was safely stored in my apartment. I turned back to my computer screen, where a notification popped up. The family trust documents I'd been reviewing needed my signature. As one of the city's youngest corporate lawyers, I learned to protect what mattered, both for my clients and myself. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my father. Katie, Amanda told me what happened, he began, using the nickname I'd grown to hate. She's just trying to help you move forward. You can't keep holding on to everything of your mother's. I thought about the real box sitting in my apartment, about the letter my mother had written explaining everything. Don't worry about it, Dad. What's done is done. That's surprisingly mature of you, he said, sounding relieved. I was worried you'd be upset. Amanda thought you might make a scene. Of course she did. Amanda had spent the last 2 years trying to provoke reactions from me, to paint me as the unstable one who couldn't let go of the past. Every family dinner became a minefield of subtle digs about my mother, about how different things were now, about how I needed to embrace my new family. No scene, I assured him. I have a meeting to get to. After hanging up, I pulled up my calendar. 3 days until my 30th birthday, the day my mother had specified I should open her gift. The timing of Amanda's little stunt wasn't coincidental. She'd probably been snooping through my mother's old papers and found a reference to the date. My assistant Sarah knocked on my office door. Ms. Morris? The Wellington merger documents are ready for review. Thanks, Sarah. I gathered my thoughts, pushing aside the morning's drama. Also, could you confirm my appointment with Mr. Harrison for Thursday? Mr. Harrison had been my mother's lawyer, and more importantly, he'd been the one who helped her set everything up before she died. He was the only other person who knew what was really in that box. The rest of the day passed in a blur of contracts and client meetings. Amanda called twice more, each time with a different version of events. First, she claimed she'd merely moved the box to the garage. Then she suggested perhaps it had been accidentally knocked into the trash. She was backpedaling, probably worried about how my father would react if he knew that she'd deliberately thrown it away. I let her calls go to voicemail. That evening, as I drove home to my apartment in the city's historic district, I thought about my mother's last days. She'd been so specific about waiting until my 30th birthday, about keeping the box safe, about not telling anyone what was inside. Some people only show their true colors when they think they have nothing to lose. She told me, her voice weak, but her eyes sharp as ever. Watch, wait, and learn who you can trust. The lesson had served me well, especially after Amanda entered our lives. She'd swept in less than a year after my mother's death, all perfect smiles and designer outfits, promising to bring life back into this sad house. My father, still struggling with grief, had been an easy target. I parked my car and took the elevator to my floor, my heels clicking against the marble tiles. Inside my apartment, I went straight to my home office, opened the hidden safe behind my law school diploma, and took out the real box. It looked identical to the decoy Amanda had thrown away, but this one held something far more valuable than old papers and costume jewelry. I ran my fingers along the intricate carvings my mother had always loved, feeling the smooth wood beneath my touch. 3 more days. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "Your father and I would like you to come to dinner tomorrow. We need to discuss some changes to the household arrangements." I could guess what those changes would be. With the box presumably gone, Amanda probably thought it was time to clear out the rest of my mother's things. Her books, her art, her presents. "Sorry, busy with work," I replied. "Maybe next week." Thursday couldn't come soon enough. Whatever was in this box, my mother had wanted me to wait until exactly the right moment to open it. She'd known, somehow, that Amanda would show her true colors, that my father would choose the path of least resistance, that I would need to be prepared. As I got ready for bed that night, another text came through, this time from my father. "Amanda's really trying, Katie. Give her a chance. She just wants what's best for this family." I didn't reply. Instead, I looked at the photo on my nightstand, my mother and me at my law school graduation, both of us beaming. She'd been so proud that day, even though she'd barely had the strength to attend the ceremony. "Remember, Catherine," she'd said afterward, using my full name as she always did when sharing something important. "Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about being prepared." 3 more days, and I would finally understand what she meant. Thursday morning dawned bright and clear, the day before my 30th birthday, and Amanda had escalated her campaign. She'd sent photos of my mother's books being packed into boxes, claiming she was donating them to make space for new memories. I let her play her games. My meeting with Mr. Harrison was scheduled for 2 p.m. As I sat in his office, the familiar scent of leather and old books brought back memories of sitting here with my mother during her final months. "Right on schedule," Mr. Harrison said, checking his watch. "Your mother would be proud of your punctuality." He pulled out a thick folder and placed it on his desk. "I assume Amanda made her move." I nodded, explaining about the decoy box. A small smile crossed his weathered face. "Brilliant, just like your mother would have done." He opened the folder. "Now, shall we discuss what's really in that box?" For the next hour, Mr. Harrison walked me through everything my mother had arranged. With each revelation, I understood more clearly why she'd insisted on waiting until my 30th birthday. She hadn't just left me a gift, she left me ammunition. "The timing is crucial," Mr. Harrison emphasized. "Once you open that box tomorrow, things will move quickly. Are you ready for that?" "I've been ready for 5 years," I replied. When I returned to my office, there were 3 missed calls from Amanda and a text from my father. "Amanda's redecorating your old room. She thinks it's time for a proper guest space. You understand, right?" I did understand. Amanda was systematically erasing every trace of my mother, thinking she'd finally won. The room she was so eagerly redecorating held another surprise. But she wouldn't discover that until it was too late. That evening, Amanda called again. This time, I picked up. "Catherine, darling," she said, her voice syrupy sweet. "I've been thinking about that old box. I feel just terrible about the whole thing." "Do you?" I kept my tone neutral. "Yes, and I want to make it up to you. Why don't we come to dinner tomorrow? We can celebrate your birthday as a family." I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. She thought she'd broken me, stripped away my last connection to my mother. Now she wanted to witness her victory in person. "That's thoughtful of you, Amanda," I replied. "But I already have plans." "Plans? But we're your family. Surely you can cancel whatever little arrangement you've made." "Actually, I'm having dinner with Mr. Harrison, Mom's old lawyer. He says there are some important matters we need to discuss." The silence on the other end was deafening. "Then, lawyer? What matters?" "Oh, just some paperwork Mom left. Nothing for you to worry about." I hung up before she could respond. Within minutes, my father called. "Katie, what's this about meeting with Harrison? Amanda's worried you might be causing trouble." "No trouble, Dad. Just following Mom's instructions." "Instructions? Katie, your mother's been gone for 5 years. It's time to move forward. Amanda's right. You need to let go." I thought about the box in my safe, about Mr. Harrison's revelations, about everything that would unfold tomorrow. "You're right, Dad. After tomorrow, everything will be different." That night, I took out the real box one last time before my birthday. The carved wood seemed to glow in a lamplight, holding its secrets for just a few more hours. My mother's words echoed in my mind. Patience, Catherine. Wait until the right moment. Let them show who they really are. Amanda had certainly done that. In 2 years, she systematically worked to erase my mother's memory, to push me to the margins of my own family. She convinced my father that her actions were motivated by love, by a desire to help everyone move forward. Tomorrow, she would learn the cost of her actions. My phone buzzed with another text from Amanda. Your father and I are worried about you, dear. Meeting with lawyers, holding on to the past. It's not healthy. Why don't you let me help you move past all this? I smiled at her transparent attempt to gain control of the situation. Amanda had always underestimated me, seeing only what she wanted to see, the grieving daughter she could manipulate and eventually push aside. She had no idea that every attempt to erase my mother had only strengthened my resolve to protect her legacy. Every book packed away, every photo removed, every memory she tried to erase had been carefully documented. My mother had taught me well. Keep records, Catherine. Everything leaves a trail. I sent a brief reply to Amanda. Thank you for your concern. I'll see you soon. Let her worry about what that meant. As I prepared for bed, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I saw my mother's features in my face, the same determined set of the jaw, the same calculating look in the eyes. Amanda had once complained that I looked too much like my mother, that it was unsettling. She had no idea how right she was. Tomorrow, I would finally open the box. Tomorrow, everything my mother had planned would be set in motion. Tomorrow, Amanda would learn that her victory was an illusion. I settled into bed, thinking about how quickly things would change. Mr. Harrison's words echoed in my mind. Your mother was a brilliant woman, Catherine. She saw this coming long before anyone else did. Tomorrow, you'll understand why she made you wait. One last text came through from Amanda. Whatever you're planning, remember that your father and I only want what's best for this family. I didn't reply. Instead, I looked at my mother's photo one last time before turning out the light. Tomorrow, Mom, I whispered. Tomorrow they'll all understand. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a sense of calm certainty. Amanda thought she won by throwing away a worthless decoy. She thought she finally erased my mother's presence from our lives. She was about to discover just how wrong she was. On the morning of my 30th birthday, I opened the real box. Inside, beneath layers of carefully preserved tissue paper, lay 3 items: a letter, a USB drive, and a set of documents that would change everything. My mother's elegant handwriting graced the envelope. For Catherine, when they show their true colors. The letter explained everything. My mother hadn't just been a talented artist. She'd been the silent majority shareholder of my father's company, something even he didn't know. She'd inherited it from her own father and had kept her ownership quiet, letting my father believe he was in complete control. The company was always meant for you, Catherine, she wrote. I've watched you grow, learn, and prepare yourself. Your father never saw it, too caught up in his own importance. Now it's time to take your place. The USB drive contained years of documentation. Board meeting minutes, financial records, evidence of my father's mismanagement, and most recently, proof of Amanda's interference in company affairs. She'd been pushing my father to make questionable decisions, preparing to position herself on the board. At exactly 9 a.m., I walked into my father's company headquarters. The security guard did a double take. I hadn't visited since my mother's death. Ms. Morris, we weren't expecting you. It's fine, James. Mr. Harrison is meeting me here. In the lobby, Amanda was berating a young receptionist about something trivial. She froze when she saw me. Catherine? What are you doing here? Attending the board meeting, I replied calmly. She laughed, that condescending sound I'd grown to hate. Board meeting? Don't be ridiculous. This is a private meeting for actual board members. Mr. Harrison stepped off the elevator, folder in hand. Actually, Mrs. Morris, Catherine has every right to be here. Shall we? The boardroom was full when we entered. My father sat at the head of the table, looking confused. Katie, what's going on? Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to announce a change in leadership. As of today, Catherine Morris is assuming her position as majority shareholder and CEO of Morris Enterprises. The room erupted in chaos. Amanda's face went pale. My father stood up, sputtering, That's impossible. I own this company. No, Dad, I said quietly. Mom did. And now I do. Mr. Harrison distributed copies of the documents from my mother's box. Mrs. Eleanor Morris transferred all shares to her daughter, effective on her 30th birthday. The paperwork is ironclad. Amanda found her voice. This is absurd. She can't just walk in here and take over. She knows nothing about running a company. I pulled out my laptop, connecting the USB drive to the projector. Actually, I know quite a lot, including how you've been influencing Dad to make decisions that would benefit your friends' companies at our expense. The evidence was damning. Emails, recorded conversations, financial trails showing how Amanda had been positioning herself to gain control. My father sank back into his chair as years of manipulation came to light. Eleanor knew what would happen, Mr. Harrison explained. She prepared Catherine for this moment, made sure she had the education and experience needed. While you were busy erasing her memory, Catherine was learning everything about this company. Amanda turned to my father, desperate. Richard, you can't let her do this. This was supposed to be our company. But my father was staring at the documents, recognition dawning in his eyes. All those board meetings Elle insisted on attending. The questions she asked, she owned it all along. Yes, I said. And she knew exactly what would happen after she was gone. That's why she made sure I would be ready. The board members were reviewing the evidence, their expressions shifting from shock to understanding. They'd watched my father's decisions become increasingly questionable under Amanda's influence. Mr. Harrison, I addressed the room. Please proceed with the remaining announcements. He nodded. Effective immediately, the board will be restructured. All recent appointments will be reviewed, and any decisions made under questionable influence will be reconsidered. Amanda stood up, shaking. You planned this. That box, you knew I would throw it away. No, Amanda. You did exactly what Mom predicted you would do. She knew someone would try to erase her from our lives, to take what she built. That's why she made me wait, watch, and learn. I turned to my father, who looked years older suddenly. Dad, you have a choice. You can stay on as a consultant, or you can retire. Either way, things are changing. The security team arrived to escort Amanda out. As she passed me, she hissed, "This isn't over." Actually, it is, I replied. By the way, you might want to pack your things from the house. That's mine too. Later that evening, sitting in what was now my office, I opened my mother's letter again. The last line brought tears to my eyes. Remember, Catherine, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about rising above. You've always been destined for greater things than they could imagine. Happy birthday, my darling daughter. Show them who you really are. I looked out over the city skyline, thinking about how differently this birthday had turned out from what Amanda had planned. She thought throwing away a box would break me. Instead, she triggered exactly what my mother had prepared for. Sometimes the best gifts aren't the ones you can see. Sometimes they're the lessons learned while waiting for the right moment. My mother had taught me that, and now I would make sure her legacy lived on, not just in photographs and memories, but in the company she'd built and the daughter she prepared to lead it. Amanda had wanted to erase my mother's presence. Instead, she'd helped cement it forever.